So, a two-piece sleeve gives your coat or jacket a more refined, tailored look. It's drafted and shaped to fit the natural curve of your arm. So not only will you get a great look, but it also fits better and is more comfortable. Now let's continue making our two-piece sleeve draft. Hi, I'm Aletha of Ribbons and Zippers, and on this channel I show you tips and techniques on how to make a better garment. Now in this video I am going to continue drafting a two-piece sleeve for my collarless coat. We're going to need plenty of pattern paper for this draft. You can start by preparing 3 pieces of paper that is about 28 inches long. You're going to need to draw a grain line from top to bottom and draw a bicep line that's 8.5 inches down from the top. Make sure that it's perfectly squared across. Now grab your tools. Now of course we are going to need the fitted sleeve draft that we completed in part 1. If you didn't see that video, please take the time to check it out, okay? So now let's just go ahead and lay out our draft, and we're going to use this to widen it out and make the sleeve cap a little bit more higher because we have to adjust it for shoulder pads, all right, or in anything that you want to put inside of your jacket. So sometimes we put the shoulder pad, we'll put a sleeve cap, all of that, it adds more fullness. So that's why we need to go ahead and adjust this pattern this way. All right, so the very first thing that we're going to do is we're going to measure from across the bicep from the back to the front tip. And we're going to take that measurement and we're going to divide that by 4. So what we eventually are going to do is we need our bicep to be in 4 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? And then we'll extend that line all the way down, and then we are going to slash and spread our draft. So first things first, I'm taking a measurement. And make sure your measurement is as accurate as possible. All right, so I'm getting a measurement of 15 3/4 of an inch on my bicep line. So that's from tip to tip, okay? So now I need to take that and divide it by 4. And the easy way to do that is to go ahead and grab your tape measure. So I'm going to fold my tape measure in half at the 15 3/4 of an inch mark and see what I get. So I get 7 7/8 of an inch. Okay, so now I need to fold that again on the 7 7/8 of an inch mark and see what I get. I wouldn't do this by calculator. Calculators come out a little bit different. Okay, so now I get 3 7/8 of an inch. So I'm going to make a mark at 3 7/8. Okay, so I went from 3 7/8 from this edge, and so here's my center line. So I don't have to do anything here, but I want to measure from this end over 3 7/8. So I'm going to put my ruler at the 3 7/8 inch mark, and I'm going to make a mark. All right, so now I have 4 sections. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and measure up and down along that line. All right, so you want to make sure that it goes straight down. Okay, one thing that you could do is you can measure from your line to your mark. You can take your see-through ruler and use it to measure along your line exactly where you're coming with this spot. And I would do the same thing on the other side. Okay, just remember that when you're drafting your sleeve, your back is a little bit longer than your front. So that's why if we go all the way across and we divide it by 4 equal parts, it's going to be a little bit off. That's why I want to use my middle line, because I'm going to use this middle line to slash and spread anyway. So I'm going to use my long quilting ruler. You can use your see-through ruler to make marks and then draw your line. End results are going to be the same. All right, so now I have 4 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have our middle section, we have our bicep line. Okay, now we need to make one more line. So, and that's going to be our sleeve cap. And so we need to go across this line. So right where your line, so let me show you really quick. So we made our lines 1, 2, 3, and there's a point here, right here. At this point is where you're going to measure over. Okay, so once we establish that point, we need to square over. And so now you can use your see-through ruler. You can use whatever ruler that's going to allow you to get a nice squared line. Don't be afraid that you don't have an intersection on your front side. Most of the time, it's always that way. Let me just show you. So my front section, the point is, the intersection is a little bit, what, 1/16 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch. It really is not, doesn't matter. So don't be afraid of that. That's fine, okay? Next step is to cut these lines, okay? We're going to cut and we're going to spread. So right now we are just about to make a puzzle. So 2 tops and 1, 2, 3, 4 sleeve lines. Okay, so now let's cut out our puzzle here. So we're going to cut all the way around and we're going to slash, slash, slash. Now this time you're going to slash all the way through because we're going to spread it on another piece of paper. So you want to, again, prepare another 28-inch paper, create your bicep line, and make a straight line down the middle because we're going to need that, okay? So let's start cutting. So here's my long cuts, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the second cut is along the line that we drew, not the bicep line. Do not cut the bicep line. If I said that, I apologize. It's not the bicep line. It's only this top line on the bicep and these 3 cuts. Okay, so let's go ahead and cut the top portion off. So just take your time. Like I said, that pencil line is very narrow. Okay, so now we have our cuts. So what are we going to do now? We're going to spread each one of these cuts in a certain amount. Okay, so grab your paper, right? Don't mix up your cuts. So just take your pieces and put them on top. The first one I'm going to worry about are the two in the middle. So these two in the middle, my first spread is going to be a 1/8 of an inch spread. Okay, so how do we do that? We need to take our little ruler. This is how I like to do it. Everybody does it differently. So we know that our ruler is cut into 1/8 and 1/16, right? So you can use your ruler to mark the 1/16 of an inch, 1/16 on each side of your, okay? So first let's start there. So use your ruler. It has a 1/16 of an inch marked because we want to make our spread 1/8 of an inch. So each side is going to be 1/16 of an inch, right? Okay, so 1/16 of an inch. And I'm just going to go all the way down to the bottom of my paper. Okay, so there we have it. Okay, so this measurement should be 1/8 of an inch, and it is. So what I'm going to do is take my middle pieces, this middle piece and this middle piece, and I am going to lay each one down and tape it. So I'm going to line my bicep line up nice and straight. I'm going to make sure I'm not crooked. Make sure that I'm on the line, and then I am going to tape. Make sure everything is nice and straight. Okay, so next you're going to do the same thing with the other second piece from the middle. You're going to make sure it's squarely on your bicep line. You're going to move it, and then you just tape. Now next is the outside pieces. So I'm going to move my piece over here and here. So over here we had to do 1/16 of an inch and 1/16 of an inch on either side of our straight line. Now that you have your middle pieces down, you can use the edge of your each piece and measure out 1/8 of an inch. Just make sure that your ruler does not move. Now go ahead and again line it up on the bicep line. Once you have it, go ahead and tape it down. All right. Okay, so now we want to do the same thing with the front. Okay, so it's going to be 1/8 of an inch, and again I'm going to just go ahead and make 1/8 of an inch guideline for myself. Once I have it straight, it's on the bicep line, it's 1/8 of an inch away, then I tape. All right, so now for your sleeve cap, I need for this to be 1/4 of an inch away. So this line, this gap in between the top is going to be 1/4 of an inch. So we're going to take our ruler and I'm going to draw a line that's 1/4 of an inch. All right, so now I have a 1/4 of an inch line here. So it needs to be 1/8 of an inch away in the middle and 1/4 of an inch away from the cap. This line that I drew is 1/4 of an inch. So we're going to put it down on the 1/4 of an inch and the 1/8 of an inch. All right, so this is absolutely perfect. I have it at a 1/4 of an inch and I have it at on my 1/16 of an inch line coming away from my center. So it's going to be 1/8 of an inch gap there. Take some tape and tape. Tape it down. Perfect. Last one. All right, so this is our slash and spread. This is how we are going to come up with our coat sleeve. So now there are a few more things that we need to do to make sure that it's just right. So what we need to do now is, of course, we're going to smooth all the lines out, but we have to consider the underarm of our coat sleeve. We do put our arms in there. Sometimes we wear shirts, sweaters, whatever. We need to add more length to our sleeve. Okay, so let's do that now. So what we need to do is we need to move over a little bit and we need to move down a little bit. So over and down, but how much? We need to do 1/2 of an inch lower on our bicep line. So I'm going to put my ruler and I'm going to draw I'm going to mark 1/2 of an inch on either side. All right, so I take my ruler and I come down 1/2 of an inch from my original bicep line and I mark all the way across 1/2 of an inch down. Okay, I marked a new bicep line 1/2 of an inch down from the first one. So now I need to mark 1/2 of an inch over. Let's go to our new bicep line and we're going to mark 1/2 of an inch out. At this point, we're just going to make a mark. So just make a cross mark. Okay, so I'll show you. So we're not worried about the first bicep line. We're working on a new bicep line. So what I did was just make a cross line. This is a point where I'm going to start, okay? So you're going to do that on both sides. 1/2 of an inch out on your new bicep line. Okay, so we are going to use our curved ruler. Since we came out the 1/2 inch and down 1/2 inch on both sides, we need to go ahead and true this up. So let's start with our sleeve cap. We're going to take the ruler and you're going to find that mark that we made. Let me show you. Okay, go ahead and take your curved ruler to that mark. Now we just need to blend into our sleeve, okay? So with my pencil, I'm going to start at that point and I'm going to blend back in. And make sure it's nice and blended. All right, so that's one side. Now let's do the other side. after you do your sleeve cap, you want to concentrate now on blending your back sleeve and your front sleeve. We're going to start from that point again, and we're going to blend into nothing. So starting from the point, which is a ½ inch over, ½ inch down, since it's a ½ inch, I'm going to move my ruler in, and at the center of my elbow dart, I am going to move my ruler in about ¼ inch. So let me show you. I'm going to make my line because we have to taper in. I'm going to stop right there. I always like to show you guys. So ½ inch at the center of my elbow dart. It's 1/4 inch. Now from the 1/4 inch, I am going to taper to nothing at my wrist or the sleeve. Okay, so, and of course we're going to blend all of this. All right, so let me show you, and then blend to nothing. All right, so we're going to do the same thing on the inside of the sleeve on the front. All right, so that's how that looks. I can show you. So 1/4 inch and blend to nothing. Okay. Okay, so the next step is to take the pattern and trace it off. Okay. So I'm going to use another piece of paper that I already made my lines on once again. So this time what I'm going to do is just trim it. I just want to be able to see. So going to take this paper that's already has the long line and the bicep line, and I am going to match my bicep line this time using the ½ inch down line. So this, I'm not going to worry about the first bicep line. We're only going to worry about the bicep line where we came down ½ inch, and I am going to go ahead and match it. Okay, making sure that I am also matching my long straight line along my 28 inches. Okay. Okay, perfect. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pinwheel, and I'm going to trace all the way around. I'm going to make sure I make my markings, my notches. Okay, I definitely want to get this line. This is my bicep line, and we're using the second one, remember? Okay, so let's start tracing. Okay, so now you're going to just remove this layer. Okay, so if this has been helpful to you and you like what you're learning, go ahead and like and subscribe so that you continue to get more information, learn more about sewing tips and techniques on my channel, okay? And don't forget to hit the bell so that you could be reminded the next time I do a video that's just for you. Okay, so there's a few things that I need to do before we get this completed. So I want you to notice the elbow dart is a little bit too long, but we're going to correct that because it got lengthened when we were drafting. So we added a 1/2 of an inch and a 1/4 of an inch, so it just made it a little bit too long. So what I want you to do is take a look at the ends of your sleeve cap. So it would be your undersleeve seam. Okay, your seam. All right, that point and that point. What we're going to do is we're going to fold along the bicep line and the elbow line. Now, hopefully you can see through your paper because I can. So we're going to just fold it. Before we do that, let's do some trimming, okay, before we do that. Okay, so remove your paper, and we have our sleeve trimmed down, right? So what I want you to do is fold inwards towards the center line, okay? And that point is going to meet the other point. Now, when you do that, you want to make sure that your elbow lines are straight as well. So here's my elbow line. I can see it from the other side. I just want to make sure that the lines it's on that line, and you want to make sure that the point of your sleeve is exactly in the point of your bicep line. Okay, and then just crease your paper down. Okay, so we go into crease just like that. Okay, take the other side and do the same with that point. Make sure it's perfect. Okay, so it should look like this. Make sure your bicep lines are actually the same and your elbow line is the same. Now I want you to take a different color pencil, like an orange or blue, and we're going to make some adjustments. And then I'm going to tape. So once I do that, I'm going to take my pinwheel and I'm going to trace. Now don't forget, we already traced, so we already have a dotted line to follow. So you should be able to see your dotted line. So let me show you. You can put a dot if you want to, but I just put letter A, all right? Letter A, letter A. Okay, you're gonna trace all the way around. All right, so there we have it, you see? So this is beginning to be our two-piece sleeve. Now, I want you to notice over here, we have our elbow dart. And the problem is that it's too long. Let me just show you. See the elbow dart? This is the crease line right here. And the elbow dart extends past that crease line. The elbow dart needs to end no further than that crease line. So we have to fix that. It's not a big deal. Just go to the end of your dart leg and make sure you're doing the correct dart leg, because this is not your dart leg. This is just off the paper. So you want to go from the end of your dart leg to the crease line. So I'm using an orange pen, so I know that that's a correction. Okay, this is your elbow dart. All right, So the next thing is to come over here and come in about 1/8 of an inch on the front of your sleeve. We know this is the front because we have one notch, 1/8 of an inch. And then I want you to just curve out to the tip of your sleeve. This is the underarm to the wrist. Curve out and curve out. I want to make another adjustment. So from my dart leg on my sleeve back to the crease at the bottom of my draft here, I am going to take off. All right. Next thing I want you to do is to measure from where I made my mark. So from where I made my mark to over here. So it's 11¼ inches. So 11¼ inches divided by 4. All right, so I have these marks 2 3/4 away. So up here at the top I put A. Now I want to use the marks I just made. I divided my sleeve in 4/4, and I'm going to mark. Okay, so the first mark here, I'm going to put B, okay, and then I'm going to put B over here. Where I adjusted my elbow dart right here at the crease, I'm going to make that C. Or it could be the other way around, doesn't matter. A, B, let's make this down here C. This is C, because we're going to make a line. We're going to make a line from A to B to C. From A to B to C. So here, we're not going to put a mark on the crease line. We're going to put a mark halfway. So don't forget, we came in 1/8 of an inch over here. So that's where you're going to measure to. So from the center line to our new adjusted point, and that's going to be B. Okay, we need to do one more measurement. We want to find a spot on our underarm, okay, from the bicep line that is 1 1/4 of an inch. So this from here to here is a 1 1/4 inch line. Okay, so here's my bicep line all the way across. Here's my underarm. I can see it through my paper, and I can also see the holes that I made with my pinwheel. I drew a line that's 1 1/4 of an inch touching my underarm. So just want to make sure that you move your ruler along your bicep line at 1 1/4 of an inch, and you want to stop until the tip of your ruler reaches your underarm. Take a pin that is a different color and mark. You can even make a hole with an awl if you have your awl handy. So if you have your awl handy and you really want to see that mark, you can punch a little hole, okay? So when you open it up, you'll be able to see your hole. So go ahead and mark. This is my spot. And you want to also mark here, right where you made the hole on both spots. So here and here. All right. So 2 spots. Now do the other side. Same way. Make a mark there and a mark here. Okay, so now we have 4 marks. Okay, that's very important. We're going to open up our pattern and we're going to make some lines that is connecting our A, B, and C. So let me turn it this way so you can see. We're going to connect A, B, and C, and A, B, and C. And I would use a different color pencil or a marker. Okay, A to B and B to C with a different color marker. You're going to do the same thing on the other side. You're going to connect A to B and B to C. Now A is the tip of your underarm. B should be somewhere where you marked it because we measured half on your elbow line, and C is at the bottom of your sleeve. Okay, so you have your lines. Now I am going to grab another color pen, okay, because I need to get some more lines. All right, so we need to measure from our 2 lines that we just created. We need to measure out. So from our point, which was B, we're going to measure 1 inch out, and we're going to measure 1 inch out on this side as well, and mark it on your elbow line. Now move down to your sleeve, okay, at the hem, and we are going to mark going out from C. Let's go out 3/4 of an inch from C. Now what we're going to do is we are going to connect some dots. All right, find the outside dot, so not the one that's on the underarm, this outside dot, and we're going to connect that dot to the dot on the elbow line to the dot on the hemline. And I would use a different color pen. So go ahead and start connecting the dots. And we're going to do the other side. So this is what we have so far. Remember, we're creating a 2-piece sleeve, so we have to draft it out in order so that we can cut it and it's going to look really nice. Okay, so before we move on, let's make some notches. So we have notches, a front notch and a back notches. Very important to have notches so that you'll know where you're sewing. Okay, so we can match everything up. You're going to make a notch here and you're going to make a notch here. For the notch on the bottom half of your sleeve, start at your dart leg. And I'll bring the camera down so you can see. And you're going to make a notch that is 1.5 inches on your line, 1.5 inches away from your dart leg, and on the same dart leg, which happens to be your elbow line, you're going to make another notch 1.5 inches away. All right, so I want you to see. So here's my line that I created. I connected my dots. Here is this is my elbow line. This is my dart. This is my dart for my elbow. So my dart leg, from my dart leg on the bottom half of my sleeve, I measured over 1.5 inches and I made a notch. From the dart leg, which happens to be the elbow line, I measured up 1.5 inches and I made a notch. All right, so that's going to be your notches for your sleeve back. Okay. Okay guys, so now I need to make some more lines very similar to what we did. Remember, we went out 1 inch, okay, on our elbow line, and we went out 3/4 of an inch on our hemline. So this time we are going to go in. Okay, so we are going to go in the same amount. So 1 inch at the elbow and 3/4 of an inch at the hem. Okay. Again, I'm going to use a different color pen. I'm going to use blue. Okay. So now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So 3/4 of an inch on our hemline, 1 inch on our elbow line. So now that second point is where we're going to go ahead and connect the dots. Okay. All right, from our inside dot on the underarm to the elbow, and from the elbow to the hem. All right. We are going to need to make 2 more notches. Okay, so from the elbow line, we are going to measure 1.5 inches on our line that we just created. So from the elbow line, 1.5 inches, and we're going to make another notch. So when you put this together, you're going to match your notches. That's the point. So 1.5 inches. All right. So we should look like this. One and a half inches from the dart leg, 1.5 inches from the elbow line, 1.5 inches from the elbow line, 1.5 inches from the elbow line. That's where we made our notches. So we made our notches there. And like I said, if for some reason you had a dart that moved into that inside sleeve, which you shouldn't, you would use your dart leg as a point to start. All right, so you can tape your pattern down if you don't want it to move. For me, again, I am tracing my under sleeve from the inner, small inner section, but I'm adding this section here, okay? So go ahead and trace your sleeve out. Okay, so when you get to the underarm, you're going to trace the underarm. And remember, I am going all the way up to my sleeve cap on the back sleeve. Now, one thing I wanted to make sure of is my notches. So I need to trace my notches, right? So I need to make sure that I have these notches in place. And another thing that you should probably do is you should trace your bicep line, and you should trace your elbow line. And definitely for me, I have to add notches. So I am going to mark my notches, and I am going to mark my elbow, and I'm going to mark my bicep. Okay, so I'm going to remove my draft. I'm going to put my draft to the side for a second because we're going to come back to that. But in the meantime, I'm going to use a marker and go over my lines that I created with my pinwheel so that we can see it. But this is my undersleeve. Okay, so now I'm going to get a marker and I'm going to trace it out. Now, one thing I want to mention is that we know that when we sew, sharp points and sharp edges is not what we want to see on our patterns, right? So we want to smooth out our line so that we have a nice round line. Okay, first I'm going to trace it and then I'm going to show you how to make nice smooth lines. Okay, and then don't forget your notches. When you're making your notches, just make sure that they are always perpendicular to your pattern lines. Okay, otherwise it comes out a little bit wonky. And my elbow line and my bicep line. All right, so like I said, I want to darken some things, but I also want to smooth this out so it's a nice smooth pattern. This is a harsh line right here. Okay, the elbow, very harsh line. You want to smooth it out. Okay, so remember we do have our center line, which is important because we want to make sure that we add some more marks on our undersleeve. I forgot to tell you, so I am putting my paper for my undersleeve back on top of my draft, and I can see the lines. Okay, because what I want to do, which I didn't do, and you should do this as well, it's very important, is you want to mark your grain line. Okay, so you can see the line in between, underneath, you can see through your paper, so go ahead and mark your grain line. And also we're going to make a notch for our undersleeve. That's going to be our center seam to match with our center seam. Okay, so now you can remove your draft, put it to the side again, just for a moment. I'm going to use my blue pen and I'm going to do my hem, my underarm. Everything is going to be done. Now, cut it out. Once you cut it out, put it to the side. This is a tip because you're going to make a pattern out of this. So you don't need to cut on the blue line. You can cut away maybe a 1/16 of an inch because you need to see that blue line, because you're going to need to, I'm saying blue because I used a blue pen. You could have used a black pen. You're going to need your line because you have to make your pattern. Okay, we're going to put this on top of another piece of paper and make a pattern. So do not cut the blue line. Okay, so now grab your draft. All right, because now we need to make the upper sleeve. We created the undersleeve. Now we need to cut out the upper sleeve. So you're going to need to have another piece of paper. I told you there was a lot of paper used for making our coat pattern. So grab another piece of paper. Okay. You are going to cut your pattern out from Remember we did our undersleeve from the inner blue line to the outer orange line. So you're going to go ahead and do almost the same, but not quite. You're going to go from the orange line, outer line, to the blue outer line. Okay, so grab some tape and tape it down. So again, we're going to go ahead and grab our pinwheel, and we're going to trace from A, this is the inner orange line, all the way around to the outer blue line. For me it's blue, yours could be a different color, and around the sleeve cap. We are going to make sure that we put our notches, your elbow line, your bias line, and the only notch that you're going to put a notch for your center notch for now, because this may move. I'm going to show you how to true your sleeve cap with your jacket, okay, with the bodice of your coat, and we need to incorporate those notches. Okay, let's start tracing our upper sleeve. Okay, stop at A. Stop at that point, because that's where we brought our undersleeve out to. And now we're going to trace down A. All right, so I traced it all the way around from my outer blue line, my sleeve cap. I stopped at A and I traced down. Now I need to add my lines. Again, don't forget your grain line. That's very important. We're going to add all of our important information. So here, for my grain line, I am going to put a notch, but we don't know yet because this may move a little bit to the left or the right. We're going to true up our sleeve cap with our jacket bodice in just a few. So, but make sure you make that notch, okay? Also your bicep line. You're going to do your front notch. You need to do your elbow notches on the orange line or the A line, okay? And you need to do your elbow line. If we had prepared a piece of paper with the lines already done, you wouldn't have to do the grain line, but since I didn't, I need to do my grain line. That's it. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove my tape. I'm going to put my draft to the side, and I'm going to trace around my upper sleeve. Okay, and this is my grain line. Okay, so this is our upper sleeve. Okay, we're going to cut this out. Right now, I'm not going to create a pattern just yet, because you're just going to take your sleeve draft that you did for your upper sleeve, your undersleeve, your front bodice, your back bodice, and your side panels on your coat when we get to it, and you're going to lay it out on your muslin. Muslin always comes first. All right, we have to make sure that we fit. Make sure that you fit your garment. And how do we do that? We do it by doing whatever corrections that needs to be done on the muslin. So once again, do not cut on the line. Do not cut on the line, because you need it to make your pattern. So in the next video, we are going to draft the bodice. But not only are we going to draft the bodice, but we are going to fit the sleeve into the armhole We are going to draft the lining, we are going to draft the facing, and we're also going to draft all of the padding that we need for the inside of our coat to give it structure. And of course, we are going to complete our pattern so we can start sewing. That's the fun part, right? I hope that you enjoyed this lesson. Please like and subscribe, put some comments below, and don't forget to hit the bell so that you can be reminded when I do my next video. You don't want to miss anything. I'll see you in the next video.